She was already yelling at the top of her lungs when the cop car pulled up. Karen stood in the middle of my driveway, waving a piece of paper like it was the law itself. "He refused to pay the fine. Arrest him now!" she screamed, her face red, her finger shaking in my direction. My little boy clutched my leg tighter, scared out of his mind. I hadn't even opened my mouth yet, but Karen had already painted me as a criminal. The officer stepped out, hand resting on his belt, eyes scanning between us. "Sir, what's going on here?" he asked calmly. I took a breath, ready to explain, but Karen cut me off again. "He broke HOA rules, parked his truck outside, and now he's refusing to pay. He doesn't even belong in this neighborhood." Her voice cracked with fake outrage, like she was auditioning for a role. I kept my tone steady. "Officer, I own this property outright. There is no legal HOA fine here." She put that paper on my door herself. Karen's face twitched, but she doubled down. "He's lying. He thinks he can do whatever he wants here. But I'm on the board, and the rules are the rules." The officer took the paper from her hand and looked at it for a long moment. His brow furrowed. My wife stepped out quietly from behind me, her presence calm but strong. She handed the officer a folder with documents, proof of ownership, proof of Karen's harassment, even the security footage I had saved. For a second, the whole street went silent. Then the officer looked up, and his hand moved from his belt to his forehead. He gave my wife a sharp, respectful salute. Karen's jaw fell open. My son looked up at me, whispering, "Daddy, why is he saluting Mommy?" Karen's scream broke the silence. "What is this? Why are you saluting her?" "She's the criminal here." Her voice cracked, half panic, half rage. But the officer didn't even glance her way. He held the folder firmly in his hand, then looked straight at my wife. "Ma'am, thank you for your service," he said with steady respect. Karen's face went pale, confusion spreading across it. She took a shaky step back, her voice trembling now. Service? What do you mean?" I didn't say a word. I wanted her to hear it from the officer. He finally turned toward her, his tone colder than before. "Your neighbor here is not only the legal homeowner, but his wife is a decorated military officer. She's trained SWAT units in this very county." The weight of those words hit like a hammer. Neighbors peeked out of their windows. Some even stepped onto their porches, whispering among themselves. Karen's power was crumbling right in front of the whole block. But instead of backing down, she tried one last desperate move. She pulled out her phone, dialing someone frantically. No, I'm not done. I'll get real enforcement here. He can't just ignore HOA rules." Her eyes darted, frantic, her fingers shaking on the screen. The officer frowned. "Ma'am, I've already seen enough. What you handed me is not a legal notice. This could count as harassment, maybe even impersonation." My wife finally spoke, her voice calm but sharp. "You've gone too far, Karen, and every second of this is recorded. You really want to keep digging?" Karen froze, her phone still pressed to her ear, eyes widening as if she just realized she was standing on the edge of a cliff. Karen's voice cracked through the phone. "Send someone now. They're threatening me," she cried out, trying to twist the story before anyone could stop her. But the speaker on her phone was loud enough for the whole street to hear, every lie dripping out in real time. Neighbors gasped, shaking their heads, and one older man muttered, "She's finally lost it." The officer crossed his arms, eyes narrowing, and snatched the phone straight from her hand. He spoke firmly into it. "This is Officer Daniels. Cancel whatever she just requested. She's making a false report." Then he ended the call, placing the phone in his pocket. Karen's mask shattered. She pointed at us wildly, her voice trembling. "You people think you're above the law. You'll regret this. My cousin works with county enforcement." She rushed toward the street like she was about to summon an army. That's when I pulled out my phone and tapped play. The footage lit up the screen. Karen sneaking up to my door last night, slapping that fake HOA notice on it, and laughing with someone on speakerphone about how she was going to teach us a lesson. The entire block was watching, their whispers turning into a buzz of disbelief. Karen spun around, her face drained of color. That's fake. You edited that," she stammered, but no one bought it. My wife folded her arms, steady as ever. "Karen, this is your voice, your face, your game. And now the officer has it too." Officer Daniels held out his hand for my phone, reviewing the clip silently before tucking it into his vest pocket. Then he said the line that made Karen stumble back like she'd been struck. "Ma'am, you just committed fraud, harassment, and attempted false reporting. You're the one who should be in handcuffs." The neighbors gasped, some even clapping quietly. Karen's eyes darted left and right, as if searching for an escape route. But deep down, she knew. Her empire of fake authority had just collapsed in front of everyone. Karen's breathing grew shallow as the officer stepped closer. You can't arrest me," she stammered, her voice breaking. "I'm on the HOA board. I make the rules here." But her words sounded hollow now, like a child insisting the game wasn't over. The neighbors weren't whispering anymore. They were watching openly. Phones raised, recording every second. The queen of the block was finally exposed, and nobody was rushing to defend her. The officer shook his head. "Being on an HOA doesn't give you the right to fake legal documents or lie to police. You crossed the line." His hand hovered near his cuffs, and Karen panicked. She dropped to her knees right there on the pavement, clutching his leg like a desperate plea. "Please, you don't understand. If the neighborhood finds out, I'll lose everything. Just give me a warning. I was only trying to keep order." Her voice cracked, dripping with fake tears. That's when my wife stepped forward, her tone calm but sharp as steel. "Order, you threaten families. You scared children. You think this is your kingdom. But the truth is, you don't own a single inch of this street." Karen froze at those words, trembling as if someone had pulled the ground from beneath her. Then, the twist nobody expected, another police car pulled up. Karen's face lit up with sudden hope. She scrambled to her feet, pointing at us. "Yes, finally. Arrest them. They're dangerous," she shouted, thinking backup had come for her rescue. But when the second officer stepped out, he walked straight to my wife and said with the same firm respect, "Ma'am, I heard the call. We've got your back." He didn't salute, but the tone, the stance, the authority, it was clear. They knew exactly who she was and whose side they were on. Karen's shoulders dropped, her scream caught in her throat. For the first time, she realized there was no way out. The second officer's words hit Karen harder than any handcuffs ever could. She staggered back, eyes darting to the neighbors, desperate for someone, anyone to defend her. But every camera phone stayed pointed at her. Every face carried the same look, disgust. Her reign was over, and she knew it. Officer Daniels finally spoke with authority. "Ma'am, you are under investigation for filing a false report, harassment, and impersonation of HOA authority." He pulled the cuffs from his belt, the metallic click echoing down the street. Karen's lips trembled. No, you can't do this. I am the HOA," she screamed, thrashing like a cornered animal. The neighbors gasped, some even laughing under their breath. My son clung to my leg, whispering, "Daddy, is she going to jail?" I crouched down, keeping my eyes on him. "Yes, buddy, because lying always catches up to you." My wife laid a gentle hand on his shoulder, her calm presence soothing him while Karen's world crumbled behind us. The officers guided her toward the squad car, her shouts echoing in the night. "You'll regret this. I'll get out. I'll sue all of you." But the words sounded weak, hollow. Nobody believed her anymore. The final slam of the car door felt like the neighborhood itself closing a chapter. One by one, the neighbors clapped, not the loud cheer of a crowd, but the slow, certain applause of people who had witnessed justice. My wife stood tall beside me, her head held high, while the officers nodded in quiet respect. The second officer said softly, "Not many people would have handled it this calmly. You kept your ground." I looked around at the faces, at my son's smile returning, and I felt the weight lift. I didn't fight for this country to be told I can't park in my own driveway. I said, loud enough for everyone to hear. That line hung in the air, strong and unshakable. And in that moment, the block wasn't Karen's anymore. It was ours. Justice wasn't just served. It was witnessed, remembered, and sealed forever.